Hey guys, how you doing today? Just got out of the grocery store. It is a gorgeous day today. After I'm done this recording, I'm heading down to the beach with a nice book. Gonna sit on the edge of the water. It's getting to that point where the water is just barely too cold to get into, so I'm getting really hyped for this summer. This summer's gonna be absolutely wonderful. It's gonna be absolutely wonderful. The sun, the water, the beach. Looking forward to it. And if you can get outside today, if you are at all free whatsoever to get outside, please, God, just do it. Just do it. They can't keep the sun from you, outside of work hours. So one of my Patreons, and if you want to be a Patreon, right, to my videos, please, just down in the description below is the link. Please, direct help for leftist voices out in the world is absolutely necessary. As we are facing this kind of collapsing society. Speaking of collapsing society, my Patreon asked me to talk about the Amazon workers' union vote. Really wondering, why didn't the Amazon workers vote in favor of the union? Why did they vote against the union, right? Like, it seems like a real no-brainer. Why would they vote against their own interests this way? And I think to really understand that, you have to understand like a larger, wider critique of American society and North American society. And one of the big critiques, and what we'll be talking about, is illusion, right? Illusion and how, and the simple statement that propaganda works, right? Because propaganda definitely works. And especially, like, when we think of propaganda, we think of it in a very kind of clumsy sort of way, like advertising, right? Like, or just like the most, like the reefer madness stuff, where it's like obviously the most clumsy, like, weed is bad, and if you like weed, then you're gonna go to hell. Oh, reefer madness, it makes you crazy, right? That's very clumsy propaganda. But what the new propagandists are doing, right, and what has been done over the last 30, 40 years, is this understanding of normalization, right? That you want to normalize certain behaviors. You want to normalize what people are expecting and experiencing. That what they are experiencing in their life passes by without commentary of any sort and is simply treated as banal or normal. And if you can convince a group of people that their subjugation is normal, right? That their subjugation is just a part of living, that it is a natural product, and that we should just accept our subjugation, then you can get them to do whatever you want, right? And let's be really upfront about what's going on in Alabama, because this is where this vote took place, Alabama. Those workers are being paid $15 an hour. The minimum wage in Alabama is $7.25, okay? So Amazon gets to say, with a certain level of accuracy, honestly, that, well, we're paying you double the rate, like over double the rate of what the minimum wage would be, right? And if you're a worker in Amazon working at that rate, you know what the alternatives are, right? And you know that in many cases there is not an alternative. And you are fairly aware, if not explicitly, like if you're not like walking around stating it, but you are aware in your heart that, like, should a union vote come down as a positive, right? Amazon's not just gonna go, oh well, okay, I guess we got a union there now, right? There are many things that Amazon can do in order to sort of sidestep this unionization and this unionization process, right? They will gladly, like, they'll just get rid of people, right? They'll get rid of people. There'll be actions that are taken against people who are unionizing. There'll be actions that are taken. For goodness sakes, like, how's this for a story, right? Walmarts in the past have attempted to unionize. Do you know what Walmart does when people vote yes to unionization? They shut the Walmart down, right? Like, you think they won't, but they will, right? And this kind of pernicious threat that exists within the corporate culture, people are well aware of. And if you're a person who has this $15 an hour job in a society where the minimum wage is $7.25, maybe you're just willing to throw up your hands and be like, okay, you know what? I'm ahead of the game already. I am where I am. Yeah, sure, it's not the greatest job, but this takes us into a conversation about the worship of suffering, right? If you're one of these people that dumps out of these videos at around this time, please leave a like, please leave a subscription. Thanks for coming, guys. We need to be listening to leftist voices. We need to counter these sort of right-wing kooks and quacks that have taken over the internet. Hi, I'm the Canadian Commie. I'm here to do just that. So the worship of suffering, right? The worship of hard work, as they would call it, right? That these people who celebrate their own suffering and celebrate the worship of their own suffering and the sort of self-flagellation that exists in many religions and many cultures, right? Like the worship of self-pain, that through pain you find meaning, right? We've all heard this. And this idea that if we just continue to work hard, right, then our owners will bestow us with goodness. And like Amazon's not just sitting by complacently waiting for this vote to come down, right? They're definitely taking people and having like independent individual interviews with people. They are saying to people like, and don't fool yourself, they're for sure finding people who are centralized organizers, finding people who are influential within the company as workers, right? Who have the ear of many people, and they are isolating them, and they are finding ways to sway them to their side, right? So like, if you're a person and you have like the respect of, let's say, 50 of your colleagues, let's say, and you as a company get pretty certain that people are going to vote along the lines that this person votes along, and if this person can get into the worker base and start saying like, hey, we should vote against the union, right? Well, what would it take, do you think, to get a person to actually go along with that if they're only being paid $15 in the first place? It would be like $1 raise, right? Like, say to these people, like, hey, we'll give you a raise of $1. You'll be getting paid $16 an hour instead of $15 an hour, right? You know what that means? That means a little bit more food for your kids, right? That means a little bit more shelter. That means a slightly nicer life. And and let's be really clear about when it comes to Amazon, there's no extent that they're not going to go to. They're going to do everything they can to break apart the idea that there should be a union whatsoever, and creating a atmosphere of normalized fear, right? That's key. Creating an atmosphere of normalized fear where people are afraid, people are scared, and they are concerned about losing their employment, right? And if you lose your employment, right, well, then you're in real trouble, right? If you lose your employment, then you're in real trouble, because now you can't feed your family. And we're talking about Alabama here, guys. Like, there's no support systems. They live in a place where it's like rugged individualism, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you can't feed your family, you're a failure. And that's like a quote from the governor. So this idea that, oh, we'll just unionize and then everything will be fine, right? And there are other things, like very simple statements like, well, I have to pay for a union, right? That means I'm going to be paying extra. Am I going to get anything for that? Is that going to be a benefit? Is that going to be something that's going to help me, right? I don't know, right? I know what the deal I'm getting now is. Like, I know what Amazon's giving me now, right? I don't know what this union's going to give me. I don't know anything about this union, right? And this gets into that wider conversation about the culture and this idea and the ideology of individualism, right? We've been so broken apart. We've been so smashed apart as a people, where collectivism or collective action or communism has been seen as this grand demonic evil, right? It's been so heavily propagandized and normalized in the culture, right? That's the key, right? It's one thing to stand there and create a propaganda system, right, against collective action or communism, but then you normalize that. You make it so that when people hear words like collectivism or communism, the instinct of the negative impulse is there instinctually. Once you build that into your culture, then things like unions can easily be demonized. Things like this can be easily put aside. You can easily say to the society that you live in, oh, these people are doing communism, and everybody goes, communism? We all know for a fact, without a doubt, because we've been so heavily propagandized for decades and decades, that communism is evil. So unions must be evil, right? And it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of energy to push against these heavily established narratives. And ultimately, the result in Alabama really just proves my general thesis of this channel, which is that it is extremely dangerous to have even a single billionaire in your populace, right? Because, like, if everybody was on the same playing field economically, would people have voted against this? Because there would have been nobody who would have had the resources in order to put up a successful front, right? That Jeff Bezos' success in this is that he has hundreds of billions of dollars. He can take literally $1 billion and pour it against some sort of unionization effort in any place he wants, Alabama, wherever, and he won't miss it, right? Do you think that a group of workers can withstand $1 billion of force against them? Like the heavy, high level of propaganda, the heavy, and again, like I don't mean to denigrate Alabamans or Alabama, but Alabama does not necessarily have the greatest education system in the world, right? So if you have an education system that teaches creationism, that teaches that doesn't teach history accurately, or at least omits huge sections of history, such as the history of the labor movement, from its curriculum, and then you jam these people into warehouses, pay them double the minimum wage, right? So that you can say to them, like, look, you're being paid double the minimum wage. What's the concern here? Sure, things are tough, and but that's work, right? Work is tough, right? You just gotta work harder, right? You just gotta work harder, and if you want more, oh, how selfish, right? No, everybody else around you is super happy with how things are, right? And you divide and conquer each people on an individual level, and you can spend the money to do that because you have billions of dollars in the first place. And everybody ends up living in this sort of state of uncertainty and fear where they don't trust their neighbors. But you know what they do trust? The $15 an hour that they're making, as opposed to their friends and neighbors, which are making $7.25, and they see what that looks like. And so they say, you know what? I've got this. It's sure it's tough, sure it's difficult, but I'm putting food on my table, and I got a little bit of scratch in the to make up for it in the end. So I think I'm going to keep going with it, and that's what happened in Alabama, right? That people are living in a place of perpetual fear and uncertainty, and billionaires are paying billions of dollars to maintain it and to make sure that it happens, which is extremely dangerous, which is why it inevitably will collapse, because it has to, right? You can't treat humans as commodities for long. Speaking of gaslighting, right? Don't let these guys gaslight you. They spend hundreds of billions of dollars to do it. They want to make sure that you feel bad about yourself so that you'll keep buying their products as solutions to the problems they create. Don't let them. Don't let them. You're a beautiful person living out in the world, right? If you've made it to this point, please like, share, subscribe, right? Do all the hit all the bells, hit all the whistles. You're a wonderful person. You're a divine being walking around the world on divine energy, and the billionaire class wants you to forget that. They want you to just believe, more than anything, they want you to believe that you are worthless. You are not. You are unique and special and important, and you're making all the right decisions. Good luck. We're going to need it.